said, "Thank you for lobbying for me." And I said, "Drew, I didn't have to do much lobbying."
All right, move the chains. This is sponsored by Crystal Hot Sauce, how New Orleans does flavor. You know, I can't talk enough about Drew Brees and his much-deserved first ballot induction into the Hall of Fame. And there's no one better to talk about that subject than our guest now, longtime sports columnist for NOLA.com and author of Payton-Brees, the men who built the greatest offense in NFL history, Jeff Duncan. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
It's great to have you in the studio. And, you know, it is the talk of town, and it has been for the last few weeks. You were a voter, correct?
Yes.
So how did you present that case for Drew? I mean, what was it like being in that august body?
Well, it's funny. After the ceremony, you know, Drew thanked me. He's very, very nice. Said, "Thank you for lobbying for me." And I said, "Drew, I didn't have to do much lobbying." You know, his resume, his body of work speaks for itself. In the past, on the selection committee, we've had presenters literally for great players like Brett Favre, Peyton Manning. They don't even lobby. They just say the name and save everyone the time. But the Hall of Fame has actually encouraged us in the last few years to recognize and honor the player with the full 5-minute presentation. They like to film it, so I'd put together a presentation that I thought represented his career as best I could. You know, there's a tremendous responsibility and obligation you have on the selection committee as the New Orleans representative to present the best case. You feel a little bit like a defense attorney, but there wasn't much discussion for Drew Brees. He was as much of a shoe-in, I think, as you can have.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt that he was going to be
correct.
First
I'm a little worried just because of some of the quirky results we've had in the last couple of years. We have a new voting process that I'm sure you saw in the news. Bill Belichick did not get on first ballot. He's certainly deserving. So there was a little bit of concern for me, but thankfully it was unwarranted.
Yeah, it was quite the emotional moment, you know, watching the show that evening, the honors, and to see those men walk out on the stage and realizing that these are the role models for this year for the Hall of Fame. It was just fantastic.
It's powerful.
Yeah. You know, this is the book, Payton-Brees, the men who built the greatest offense in NFL history. This is a pretty bold statement that you make.
Yes.
Can you talk about that? I mean, that's quite the claim.
Well, I have to say, Sean Payton and Drew Brees both believe it and have said it as well. I know they're biased, but Mark, I mean, you were here. You called the games. I mean, for a 15-year period, a decade and a half, it was the most prolific offense in the history of the NFL. All the records that were set during that time, they gained more yards, scored more points, more first downs, more completed passes. Name any stat of any offense over a 15-year period in the history of the game. They broke 17 NFL records, not Saints records, NFL records. Yeah. Many of them still held. I don't think there's any argument that over such a sustained period of time, no offense has ever compared. I mean, there's been some great ones like the Greatest Show on Turf with the Rams and, you know, the great Chargers offenses with Dan Fouts under Don Coryell. But they were kind of brief 2 or 3 year windows of just prolificacy. This over such a long period of time when you know every defense in the league was game planning to stop, and they had to keep evolving over that period of time. There's never been really anything in the league like it. I think it's a pretty sound argument.
Yeah, and you had that consistency of Drew Brees, Sean Payton, Mickey Loomis. Mm-hmm. You had decisions that were being made that kept building on each year. Which
it's very rare.
Proved out.
Very rare to have that long a window. And I think we all started to take a little bit of it for granted. And now that we look back on that period, you realize how special it was.
Yeah, and we're all talking about this new spirit that people are finding going into the 2026 season. And I know there's a whole separate show we can have you back on to talk about that. So let's talk about Sean Payton. I think at some point he's got to be a considered candidate for Hall of Fame.
Yes, this year was very, I think, disappointing for him. Overall, obviously, it was a great season. He rebuilt Denver, but losing his starting quarterback, Bo Nix, right before the AFC Championship game was
tough.
Even for Sean, it was difficult to overcome. And then the weather circumstances contributed to that. I think if he gets back to the Super Bowl for a second, just an appearance, that will cement his candidacy. But I still think he's got a very strong resume, as without going back.
For what you wrote about,
and also how he's rebuilt the Denver franchise. I mean, they 7 years in a row didn't make the playoffs, had losing seasons before Sean got there.
Yeah.
He's rebuilt that franchise very quickly, and I know he's very committed to try and reward the owners there and the management there for bringing him back on. And I think he's well on his way to doing that.
Yeah. What about Jari Evans? Is he going to get close?
I hope so. He certainly deserves it. He's not getting the love that I expected in the room from the other selection committee members. Obviously, they recognize his greatness. I mean, he was the best guard in the NFL for a half decade, most of a decade. He's on the all-decade team, which is voted on by the selection committee, the Hall of Fame selection committee. He was a 4-time first-team All-Pro. And Mark, I did my research on this. If you make 4 first-team All-Pros in your career, and he was second-team All-Pro another year, it's pretty much the threshold to get you in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Almost every player
that should open the door. Yeah.
Right. It's just a matter of the bottleneck kind of getting cleared a little bit. It's going to be difficult next year. The first ballot players are Ben Roethlisberger, Adrian Peterson, Andrew Whitworth from LSU, of course, Richard Sherman. I mean, there's some great first-year candidates that are going to stack the ballot and make it even more difficult.
And meaning first-year candidates, the first year that they're eligible, they're going
correct.
Potentially right in.
Much like Drew this year and Larry Fitzgerald. So we really do have a backlog of quality candidates, and Jari Evans is going to get in the Hall of Fame, I have no doubt. It just might be a little bit of a wait, sort of like what Morton Anderson had to go through.
Sure. Who's next then after Jari for us? Cam, perhaps?
Cam Jordan, yes. He certainly has a Hall of Fame-worthy resume, and, we'll put together that presentation, but I think he'll be – I don't know if he would be a first ballot, but I think he'll certainly be heavily considered on first ballot because of his, not only was he a tremendous pass rusher, but I also, one of the things I try to present when I'm presenting these Hall of Famers is, the core values of the Hall of Fame about leadership and commitment and teamwork. Those matter to me. And I think all these players we're talking about represent that. Drew Brees, certainly, his intangible qualities were every bit as impressive as the tangible on-the-field physical ability. Same for Jari Evans, same certainly for Cam Jordan.
That's a through line all the way. Real quickly, I did want to talk about your other book, A Life Impossible, which is the story of Steve Gleason. You wrote with him. Again, just a very moving portrait of a gentleman who went through so much and has just given back so much, and he keeps giving back so much. What was that experience like working with him?
It was extraordinary. I mean, it'll be the most extraordinary project I'll ever work on in my career. I'm convinced of that. Steve is the most impressive, inspiring person I've ever covered. And that includes Drew Brees. And I think Drew Brees would tell you the same. He's a huge fan of Steve's. What Steve goes through on a daily basis to live his life it's almost impossible. Yeah. Right? That's the title of the book. And he continues to inspire, I think, everyone around him. He attracts people, his gravitational orbit for attracting great people in his universe, and the leaders and the foundation that he formed, Team Gleason, that's changing and improving the lives of so many people that have been afflicted with that disease. And that book, I think, there's just so many life lessons in there for people that maybe if you haven't picked it up or read it yet, it's not just a football book. It's really a story of how to live life when we encounter adversity, when we have a curveball thrown at us. And certainly he's had a huge one, but he's still going strong 16 years into this diagnosis.
Yeah, what struck me is the importance of family and friends to get you through some of life's most difficult moments. So thank you for bringing that forward. All right, so Jeff, there are 2 trips coming up that Saints fans are going to be keenly interested in. One is the Hall of Fame game where Drew will be inducted officially, brought up with his gold jacket. And the other one will be the Saints playing in Paris against an unannounced opponent.
Right.
Both, the Saints Nation will travel. What advice would you give the Saints Nation on that?
Well, I would start planning now. The the Hall of Fame game hasn't been officially announced, but all indications are that the Saints will be playing in that game. That's always it's the first game of the year in August. And that's a small town. If you haven't been to Canton, Ohio, there's not a lot of hotels or Airbnb options. I would start trying to plan that now if you want to be there and be a part of that that incredible experience and see Drew Brees go in the Hall of Fame.
And to see that museum, it's spectacular.
Definitely. If you're going to fly, you probably fly into Cleveland. But that should be an amazing experience. I talked to Drew at the NFL Honors Show, the press conference afterward, and he said he's got a bunch of teammates coming in. It's going to be a big celebration, so it'll be special for Saints fans to be a part of that, and we know they'll have a huge turnout.
Close to Purdue.
Yes. It'll be a great experience, and the excitement built around the football team this year with what Tyler Shuck did.
And the field there is named after Tom Benson.
Correct.
Right.
He gave $11 million for that, and so it should be a nice, pleasant weekend. It'll probably be hot, but I would definitely make that trip. And then if you can get to Paris in late October, I think that's going to be very special too. The first ever NFL game in the country of France at the National Stadium, Stade de France. I know it's big for Gail Benson. It's been a big project for her to try and build up the marketing and the interest level. If you've been to France, it's not a huge American football country, but it's growing. The interest level is growing. And as we reported on that game coming about, it's kind of been in the works for a year. I can't tell you how many French journalists have reached out to me, European journalists, excited about that event. I think it's going to be great. There's going to be probably all kinds of pageantry around it between the sister countries of France and obviously the sister city of New Orleans. So I think that'll be an amazing
it's
experience.
a natural with the Louisiana connection to France. And, no one knows how to party better than we do. So we'll be bringing the party, I'm sure.
Yeah, and, when you go to France, I'm sure you've been, and I've been a few times to Paris, it really does. You start to see where New Orleans, the French influence came on our city. I mean, there's so many things over there. Either been named after the origins over in Paris or France. Right. So it's a great experience for New Orleanians.
Yeah, very good. Well, we appreciate you giving us the time to be here. Again, your book, Payton-Brees, if you haven't seen it, pick it up. It's a great book about two great athletes, people involved in the sport that have really changed the way we look at the Saints.
Yeah, thank you. And if you're in business, they're great leaders. I think there are business principles.
Very inspiring, as is Life Impossible with Steve Gleason. So look forward to seeing you again. Talk about some more great things happening around the Saints training camp. We've got the draft coming up and more things that you're going to be touching.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I look forward to coming back.
Great, Jeff. Appreciate it.